Shalom, everyone. Good morning. Ariel Tzadok here from the KosherTorah School, found online at KosherTorah.com. Bringing to you now lesson number 6 in our Sefer Yetzirah series, dedicated to the healing, the recovery, and the well-being of everybody during this coronavirus episode. I did a whole big class about the nature and message of what this virus is. It's on Facebook, it's on YouTube and Patreon. Please listen to it. I think it's got a very important message for all of us to hear, which is actually going to be echoed in what we need to discuss in this little class this morning. You see, before I even open up, let me read to you some of the words of Rabbi Haim, our commentary on the Sefer Yetzirah, and then we're going to elaborate how we take the 32 wondrous paths and translate them into their most important form, which is practical action. Remember, this physical world of ours is called Olam Ha'asiyah, the world of doing, the world of making, and therefore any and all times when something needs to be done, we have to do it. Now, this is a very, very important point, and you've heard me repeat this many a time, simply because, especially now, in the time of this corona episode, we have many people who are panicking. And we do not yet have a medical cure that can be applied to the virus. So people are turning to all kinds of faith healing. They believe that they can gaze upon a picture of a handwritten amulet and it's going to magically protect them. Or they can recite certain words or gaze at certain things. All of this, in all due respect, is wishful thinking and has absolutely no tangible value. And the reason why I feel required to say this is because I think it actually gives individuals false hope. We've had enough false hope in the history of religion, false messianic hopes, false other hopes, because we misunderstand the concept of faith. And we endeavor to try to put faith in things that don't work, are not real, and therefore have no validity. In Bible times, such misguided faith was called idolatry. And yeah, I'm sorry to have to say, but many people are committing modern idolatry because they're somehow believing in some hocus pocus magic that they believe in the name of religion is going to create magic contradicting the laws of nature that God Him itself has ordained. This is the world of Asiyah, the world of doing, the world of making, the world of these laws of physics and nature. And this is how those 32 wondrous paths of wisdom have channeled down through the worlds to materialize. And that is what we always need to focus on, the right, real means of how to do things. So please, when we learn Sefer Yetzirah, we're not here just to have an academic course like this is a university. Again, our KosherTorah School is devoted to try to give you actual, tangible, transformational knowledge that you can experience the greater reality of which we speak for your individual selves. That's what it's all about. You want a nice academic course. All my peers are out there. Every one of them's on their soapbox saying this and doing that. I want you to see. I want you to experience for yourselves. So that's why I'm hopefully giving you insights. We covered in a previous lesson the difference between what we call the black fire on white fire, the black written word on the white page, and there's the essence behind that black word. That's all part and parcel of the meaning of the word Pele, which is the aleph and all the rest of that stuff. We discussed that previously. Well, that's what we focus on here. You need not only to read what the word says, but like my Rebbe Meir Levi, Alav Shalom, my teacher in Kabbalah, he said to me, you have to also understand what they mean. Got 101 commentaries will tell you 101 things, but what does it mean? How do you apply it? How do you make it real? That's what we need to learn. Hakalal ha'oleh. Rabbi Haim writes, the general rule which comes out of all of this is this. Kesher ratzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when the Holy One, blessed be He, wanted to bring forth the world, it says here that the Holy One is the Sefirat Bina. We'll discuss this in a minute. And what does He want to bring forth? The 6 parameters which we call this world. All right? And this world is kolel, all of the different parts of the worlds which make up Beri'ah, Yetzirah, Nasiya, all of it. Hayu kol otiot stumot bebina. All the letters were concealed within Bina. Shesham nitztieru. That is where they were originally, if you will, written or engraved. V'nerashimu otiot al tuchunot bechinatam. And every letter takes its size, shape, form, purpose, meaning, according to, if you will, the wisdom of God. V'hem sod alev nitivot chochma haniskarim. This, again, is the secret of these 32 wondrous paths. And they are therefore engraved within Za Zer Anpin. V'sham mereim kocham, and this is where their power and their force becomes, he says, la'asot pu'olatam, is now able to begin to materialize their function according to the design of God. Ki alev netivot behot ba'yesod Abba, because all the while that these 32 are in what we call that yesod of Abba, einam po'alim pu'olatam, they're not performing their function. Bipnei she'yesod Abba hu rachamim pshutim, because that is just like pure simplicity, light. And keshiyuradim lazah hem po'alim pu'olatam. And only when they come into Zah do they then perform their function. Okay, you got to scratch your head and say, what the heck does all that mean? Well, let's take it out of Kabbalah speak and make it real. Now remember, we speak of what we call the 4 worlds in Kabbalah speak. And they are called Atzilut, Beri'ah, Yetzirah, and Asiya. Now, forget translations and this. Let's just deal with reality. In reality, we're dealing, remember we said everything in the heavens and the earth have to deal with what's called Za and Nok, the 2 Sephirotic faces, if you will, of the lower worlds. Za is called the lower face of God, and it reflects man, humanity. Humanity is always male and female. Like it says, God created us in His image. It's the image of this Za and Nok. So everything in the universe is a perception of Za and Nok to us. Za is, if you will, the higher collective of humanity, male and female. And again, a point I make very clear, humanity is not just those human souls incarnate in these Homo sapien bodies. Humanity is a level of conscious sentient souls that exist in multitude forms everywhere in every dimensional plane. So if we were to travel to Alpha Centauri and go to a planet so bizarre that we can't even imagine how to describe it today, and we meet traditional flying purple octopuses with single horns in their heads that are the most weirdest forms of life, again, that we can't even possibly imagine. If we could develop communication with that highly advanced, sentient, civilized race, we'd find they have the same human, we call human, Za souls as do we. Only they materialize in the form of that world like we materialize in the form of our world. These are what we call those Adamic souls. That's how we communicate with one another. That's how we communicate with the universe. In that we all emanate from these 32 wondrous paths in the forms of materialization. So, as we've learned, that which we call the will, the raw, undefined purpose. It's like the seed of all things. In Hebrew, we call that the keter. It's a crown, and the crown's on top of your head. They call this coronavirus. Why? Because corona, of course, means crown. Because if you take a look at the little pictures, either in the computerized form or in the actual forms, they have these electron microscopes that you can blow up. They have like these little things popping out of them, almost like tagine that we described, those little jots coming out of the letters. Well, they're like little crowns. A crown is not part, it's on top. It motivates, guides, directs. In this case, the will of God is called the crown, which directs. But like a seed, you know what seeds are. Right? You take a little seed, look at it, and it grows up into a big tree. And yet, out of that little seed, I don't see the tree. All right? I can have a seed and grow from a big apple trees. 1,000 apples come from this little itsy bitsy seed. How did it get in there? Well, that's the keter, the will. But in order for that, in quote, will to begin to materialize, like every other seed, it needs to germinate. So it goes in and begins to materialize. In the human experience, the first materialization of will is what we call intuition. You get a bing, eureka moment. That's what we call chokhmah. But that, again, needs to, I use the word digested. You need to take that process, that eureka, that intuitive insight. You need to think about it. You really need to, as I say again, digest it, understand it. That's the Sefirot Bina. And these, the triad here of the Keter, Chokhmah, and Bina are the singular process of thought. And that in itself is a process in and of itself. But how do we go from thought to action? The intermediary stage is that which we call the small face of God, Zeir Anpin, the 6 Sefirot, which correspond to the realm of emotions. The emotions correspond to 6 Sefirot. Wisdom is 1 Sefirah. Chokhmah is 1 Sefirah. Bina is 1 Sefirah. So will, intuition, and intellect are all singular in their function and purpose, even though each, of course, have 10 Sefirot within. But the realm of emotions, that's 6 independent Sefirot, 6 times bigger than all the rest. They not only perform, not only form a singular triad as a reflection of mind. Mind is 1 triad. Opposite it is the 2nd triad. And opposite that triad is the 3rd triad. Why do we have 3? Well, if you have 3 of it individually, you need 3 triads for each one. But the difference is this. The first triad in Zah, Hesed, Gavor, Teferet, more so reflects the reality of intuition. And intuition, if we remember Abba, Chokhmah, is only revealed inside Bina. Bina, the intellect, the mind, receives the intuitive insight. But the intuitive insight of itself, as we receive it normally in our experience, is in dreams, it's in visions, it's in that weirdo kind of symbolic language. That's what we call concealed, or satum in Hebrew, and needs to be brought out into the Bina intellectual experience. Well, guess what? Our emotions follow the same way. And you all know this just like I do. When we become emotional, somehow, somewhere, something rises up within us. And if I could pause you at that moment and say, okay, analyze for me your feelings. Tell me exactly what feeling you're feeling, where it came from, and why. You'd sit there and go, what? I can't do that. I just feel. I feel happy. I feel angry. Whatever. The origins of emotions are satum, concealed. Rab Chaim describes all of this in the in-depth teachings in the Otzrot Haim, the Etz Haim, again, which we have classes of online for those of you who want to take the courses. So the first triad of Hesed, Gavura, and Tiferet, if you will, mercy, severity, and the balance, the heart, this domain exists in the conscious. Mind is unconscious. Emotions are subconscious. And it's that distinction and difference in which thought, Sierra's deciding to make her morning scratches right now, so let her be. The difference between the unconscious realm of mind thought to the subconscious level of emotions. Again, we have almost like a rising from the concealed to the revealed. But the first level of emotions, like I said, Hesed, Gavura, and part of Tiferet, are concealed. We have this attitude of Hesed. We have to go out and do things. That we still don't necessarily are able to analyze fully in the light of thought, but we know that motivation. Then there's that, let's be careful, let's be structured, let's be cautious. That's that rigidity of Gavura. These are feelings that we don't necessarily fully understand, but they're there that motivate us. That's Hesed, that's Gavura. And in Tiferet, that's the heart, the higher self. Rab Chaim says half of that's revealed, half of that's concealed, because it's in that place of Zeranpin, our higher self, wherein which the subconscious and unconscious merge to begin to become conscious. So the lower part of the Tiferet, and then the materialized or manifest emotions of Netzach and Hod and Yesod, that becomes our motivators. So Netzach and Hod and Yesod, these are emotions that are manifest out of the subconscious that we clearly see become the motivating factors behind our personal behaviors. Yesod, that's that libidic sexual energy which drives us forward. It's creative energy. It's always creative. It doesn't have to be sexual in a human context. Genitalia? Yeah. No. It's the creative driving force. Netzach and Hod have their own parameters of balancing things and stuff. I discuss this in detail in my ebook right now, Sefirot Among Us. Go on to my ebook page. You'll see it there. Order it. And all of this is discussed in greater detail. But the point is, why do we have emotions? And it's not just so we can feel things. It's to motivate us. Because like the verse in the Bible says, many are the thoughts in the mind of man, but it's the counsel of, in quote, God that arises. How many thoughts do you think in a day? Who can count? Which thoughts do you act upon? Answer, only those that you are emotionally motivated to act upon. That is Za. That is the 6 Sefirot. So the upper triad of thought, Keter, Chochmah, Bina, materialize first in subconscious emotions, which then materialize through our higher selves and materialize external, motivational factors, emotions. And that is what leads to Malchut, which is the finite physical form, wherein which the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet are fully infused with the 10 Sefirot, and they become the heart, the materialized form of action. It becomes the foundation of what we understand as universal Torah, the universal way, the practical forms of all space and time. So, if we look at this virus as it's spreading around the world today, it has its form, it has its structure, but it also has its spiritual component, its own soul, its own higher self, its own angel which guides it. How would you like to know what that angel has to say as to why the virus is here? Go look at my class that's on YouTube, Facebook, Patreon, called The Message, the Kabbalistic Message of the COVID-19. I shared some of my own personal insights and revelations with regards to this. Experience it for yourselves. Maybe it might motivate you to learn some meditative practices and techniques to expand your own mind and consciousness. But okay, let's conclude right here. Recognize the importance and value from translating will to intuition, to intellect, to subconscious emotion, expression of emotion, which leads to proper action. That is the course and order of the 32, the heart, the wonder of it all. Take it to your heart, God be willing. See you all in our next class. God's blessings. Ariel Tzadok, KosherTorah School. You know where to find me. I'll see you there. Shalom.